where you'll be watching this from. I want to talk to you a little bit about alternative communications, different types of radios that could be used for emergency situations and maybe some systems operations or black ops. I want to get into just a few of the details on each radio, give you a basic idea of what the differences are and how they might apply to the way some of us may want to use them. I've got these radios set up and we'll get into that now. Okay, this first radio I want to talk about is the one on top there. You can see the scanner running, and this is what's called a 10-meter radio. It could be called a ham radio. It's not exactly what a ham base station would be. This is actually a mobile unit. It's made to mount in a vehicle. It works on 12 volt. It will tune in CB frequencies and several others. If you look at the scanning digits, that last digit that changes real fast, technically each one of those changes is a separate channel. I don't know if it will work functionally that way, but each one of those is a separate channel. So if you count the digits to the left, you can see this radio scans a whole lot of channels. It does have its shortcomings. I won't try to get into all that now. And this radio, I've had it for almost 20 years. It's a Ranger model 2950. I also have a similar radio. It's a Galaxy 66. It's also a 10-meter radio. They have a lot of channels, but I really don't think a radio like this would fit, would suit the purposes that some of us are talking about. It's a little tedious and a little complicated to use. Unless you have a predetermined channel. And then in that case, it's just a matter of turn it on and press the mic button on the microphone to talk. It will use a regular automotive type CB antenna. When I had it hooked up in Kansas, I had it hooked up to a 30-foot Sun Antron 99 pole antenna, which I intend to hook it up to here. I just have it hooked it up right now to a regular CB antenna. And we could maybe talk more about these another time. I will tell you that all the radios, well, two of the radios I'm going to show you require technically an FCC license to operate. This one you're looking at is included. It has a built-in, what is it? I forget if it's 25 watt or 75 watt amplifier, which is outside the range of FCC allowance for non-licensed use. Licensed use is only currently for 4 watt. The old 23 channel CBs use 7 watts. But this radio again is it's illegal to use without a license, and you can access a lot of channels with it that if you're on them, you wouldn't want to press the microphone button and talk. You can get some people irate and looking for you real quick. But it's a versatile radio. I mean, it has its good uses, and it's wonderful to me more for a base station type radio. But that's enough on that radio. Now the one below it, this is it's a standard 40 channel CB radio. This one is a Tram D62, which is a vintage radio. I've had a lot of truck drivers try to buy this radio from me, and I probably would not sell it. But the one thing that it has, and let me zoom in here and show you this, so you can probably read it right now. That knob, let me adjust my camera a little bit here, sorry. That's lower sideband and upper sideband on the AM band. If you put this radio, most of the time I use the upper sideband, but if you put this radio on sideband, when I lived in Kansas and had it hooked up, I talked to people. One guy he said about 200 miles north of New York State in Canada. I talked to people in Puerto Rico, Jamaica, it seems like Virginia and Wisconsin or Minnesota. You can talk a long ways on sideband. Now that feature on a CB radio used to be illegal to use without a license. I believe now it is legal to use sideband. But that is the one distinctive feature on this radio compared to a regular 40 channel CB. Just generally speaking, this is a very useful radio, and mainly because of the range. Now I'll tell you, on a regular CB, there's a time of year when there's a weather anomaly that's called referred to in the radio circles as the skip. It's an anomaly that causes radio transmissions to bounce back and forth from the clouds back to the earth, and they'll do that for hundreds of miles. And occasionally with a 40 channel or a 23 channel radio, you could do the same thing you could with this one on CB, but it's more problematic. This radio on sideband, you use it a little differently than you do if you're just on regular CB channels. On a regular CB channel, you press the microphone button and you hold it right in front of your mouth, and at best the audio you get on a CB can be a little tinny, not exactly the greatest. But when you're on sideband, you hold the microphone probably at least a foot or so away from your mouth, and the audio, what you hear, is a lot clearer. Just works a little different, and you just have to use it with those differences in mind. But again, this is a mobile radio. It's meant to use in a car or truck. And if you want to use it in the house, you need what's hooked up below it here. That's a 500 watt linear amplifier, which is illegal to use without an FCC license. Again, you can't use anything over 4 watts without a license, legally. Now that kicker, well, they're called kickers at times. On the sideband, when you're using the radio above it there, on the sideband, you don't need that amplifier. Now this amplifier is also just a filtered 12 volt power supply. That's what the you see the red and black wires hooked up on the front. Those are the feed for that radio that's scanning up on top. If you're using this type of radio equipment in your home, you need a filtered power supply. You know, you can a straight car battery is okay, and I can't really tell you all the technical reasons for this. But if you're using it in the house, just something that converts 110 volt AC current to 12 volt can damage your radio equipment. So you need what's called a filtered power supply. That's one there on the bottom. That's a smaller one. That cost a heck of a lot less. I don't remember how much I gave for that one. The 500 watt linear there, well, correction. This is a linear amplifier and a filtered power supply. That small unit on the bottom there is just a filtered 12 volt power supply. The right, you see the 350 HD, that's a mobile 350 watt linear amplifier. And you can just hook that into your radio in your car or truck, and that's a lot of power for traveling. I know a lot of this may be confusing, and mainly I just want to give people, especially people that aren't really familiar with this sort of equipment at all, I just want to give them some sort of operating idea of what is available and what some of its uses would be. Now, above that power supply, that is a Uniden Bear Tracker 2 that hooks into your car antenna. It's got an in and out. You disconnect your car antenna to this, and then it has another cable that connects to your car radio, so your radio also continues to, or your antenna continues to pick up signal for your radio. What this does, emergency vehicles, now this again is 20 years old, and I don't know if they're still using the same technology or not, and this may or may not be useful to any of you anyway. But what this does is it picks up the transponder in the radio of emergency vehicles, and how it does that is that, like a state trooper car, the radio in it has a transponder in it that energizes when the dispatcher keys up and sends out a signal to the patrol car. It doesn't matter whether the patrolman picks up the microphone or not. When that transponder in the radio energizes, this little device picks that up, and it can pick it up from several miles away, and it will give you a flashing light and an audible warning, and it just lets you know that there's an emergency vehicle somewhere in your vicinity. And it can have some good uses just in that one application, and but enough on that. That's not something I think most people are going to be too interested in.